Happy Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom. It was 1973. And two researchers had an idea that was going to change the opinions of people from then on. They had a class of students and they wanted to do an experiment to see how these students would react under different circumstances. Because what they thought was that people placed in certain circumstances would respond in a predetermined way. So here's what they did. They told these students, upperclassmen at a prestigious university, that what was going to happen is that they needed, all of them, to go and help out with something that was happening with the freshmen, an unexpected occurrence. Half of the group were going to go to talk to the freshmen about their professional development and what they're going to be doing after they graduate. And the other half, they were going to give them a talk on the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan story that is found in the book of Luke. I would assume that all of us here know the story of the Good Samaritan. And these young men who were going to go, they also knew the story. And so they quickly prepared what they had to do because they were going to go and give a talk about this. A sermon, if you will, on the Good Samaritan. But there was something else that they did in the experiment that made all the difference. To both of those groups, the one that was going to give the professional talk and the one that was going to give the talk on the Good Samaritan, half of each of the group they told, go ahead and get there now because they're waiting for you. And the other half, they told, you can take your time and prepare. You have about 10 minutes to get over there. Now, unknown to the students was that they all had to pass on campus through different points to get to the buildings where they were going to go. And there were people who were placed along their path. People who were slumped over on the side of a building. These individuals were directed to, when people came by, to cough a couple of times, to groan or to moan. And if they were asked if they needed help, to say no, even though obviously they were in need of help. What the scientists were trying to find out was that if the content of the talk that the students were going to give, if that made any difference as to whether they were going to stop and help a person that was in distress. Now, what do you think happened in that experiment? You don't have to tell me, but just think of what you think may have happened when these guys went. What was found was that it didn't matter who was giving the talk on the Good Samaritan or who was going to give a professional talk. It didn't make any difference as to whether they were going to stop and take care of somebody in distress. As a matter of fact, one of the students who was going to give the talk on the Good Samaritan literally had to step over a man who was groaning on the ground, almost pushed him aside to be able to get to go to his talk about the Good Samaritan. Did I mention to you that the university was Princeton? And did I mention to you that these senior students were senior students in the School of Divinity? I didn't. Would that change your mind about the conclusion that we had? The divinity students would walk past somebody in need to give a talk without stopping. Let us pray.